So you may be looking at the title and wondering, Biscuits? Bay? Queen? Why the heck is this Nuzlocke say part 0 on it? Surely a Nuzlocke starts from part 1 and nothing else, so here's some context, new or returning viewer. I started streaming Pokemon Seaglass Emerald. If you don't know what Seaglass Emerald is, it is a retro-looking ROM hack that adds amazing features to an already amazing Pokemon game. And I wanted to Nuzlocke it because Nuzlockes are fun as heck. But I wanted to do it with a twist. In Pokemon Seaglass Emerald, you can have a Tinkatink, a Paldean Pokemon from the very start of a game. Crazy, I know. And I thought, wow, that would be an interesting run. For me personally, anyway. And then I got into this weird mindset. What if I just roleplayed that I was a new trainer from the Paldean region? With that in mind, the Nuzlocke began. I defeated Roxanne just fine, and I got all the way to Brawly before his, Heracross completely ended our dreams, wiping us all in an instant. I thought that a Tailo could outspeed him, but I was so wrong. Critical, knockoff, one-hit kill. I was distraught. But we persevere. I decided I want to continue the Nuzlocke, so I've restarted. But rather than subjecting my viewers to having to watch me regrind, regrow a team, and rewatch my dear Tinkatink re-level up, I decided I would do that off stream and instead make this video as a precursor to the much fuller Nuzlocke video I plan to make much later on. So, sit back, relax, and hear the story, how I intend to best Brawly, role-playing as a Paldean trans exchange trainer, with nothing but a Tinkatink, whatever Pokemon I find along the way, and a dream. So here's some rules for Nuzlocke. You'll know that you can only use the first Pokemon you see on a route. And if you fail to catch that Pokemon, you just don't get a Pokemon for that route. Sad but true. What's more is, when a Pokemon is knocked out in a Nuzlocke, it is considered dead and must be boxed or released. But I decided to add some additional rules to my Nuzlocke. I previously didn't use the XP share provided because I didn't realize the game difficulty is completely balanced for it, unlike the newer games, which potentially led to me losing my last run. So the XP share is allowed this time, and I've also added the duplicate and shiny clause. If I run into a duplicate Pokemon of a evolution line I've already caught before, I don't have to use that Pokemon. I can re-roll for a new Pokemon essentially. If I run into a shiny Pokemon, I can use it no matter what. Without further ado, let's begin the Pokemon Seaglass Emerald Nuzlocke. So, after a very long flight from the Paldea region, we arrive in Little Root Town to set up our home, our clock, and get acquainted with the locals, as well as letting Kaine the Tinkatink have a nice stretch after a long time in her ball. And much like her namesake, she is very nice and very composed, and very emotionally stable. Not long after we arrive, we hear cowardly screaming coming from a nearby forest. As it turns out, Professor Birch, Hoenn region's very own Pokemon professor, is in trouble after pissing off a local Zigzagoon. He gets dangerously close to being mauled by this Zigzagoon, so he begs for our help, telling us that there's Pokeballs in his briefcase. But me and Kaine, we don't need any extra help, we've got this. Kaine takes out the Zigzagoon with just a few fairy winds, and the day is saved. Professor Birch is so grateful he decides to gift us our own Tinkatink. Okay, I've already nicknamed her, but whatever. We box the Mudkip we were forced to take, before encountering our rival Brendan. He's a bit cocky, so he thinks he can take us on no problem. But me and Kaine, we have a bond that can't be destroyed by bravado. Kaine knocks out his Trico with no issue, and we return to the lab to receive our Pokeballs. We bid our mom goodbye and head to the first route to get our first encounter. Our first encounter being Poochyena. And in keeping with the theme, I decided to name all my Pokemon after LGBT characters. Welcome to the team, Tyler. We then immediately run up to Route 103 and encounter a Zigzagoon, whom I decide to name Allie. Then shortly after we get our Route 102 encounter. I was really hoping for a Ralts but ended up with a Surskit, whom shall be dubbed Chris Deltarune, or just Chris for short. We make it past the low-level trainers in order to get to Petalburg City, where we have an awkward encounter with our estranged father. Inside, you could tell he wanted to say that he was proud of his daughter, but he just could not bring himself to do it just yet. Speaking of transcoded characters, this meek young boy named Wally walks in. He's moving away to Verdanturf Town soon and wants to catch a Pokémon so he won't feel lonely. Norman gives Wally a Zigzagoon to help him catch a Pokémon in Route 102. And while the game doesn't show which Pokémon it is, it's Ralts. It's always been Ralts, it will always be Ralts. Like I said, transcoded character. With all that out of the way, we resume our journey to catch more Pokémon and make our way to the first gym. Moving on to Route 104, we catch a Psyduck we decide to call Krem. And we make our way into Petalburg Woods. This is where we catch Poison the Wurmple, who very soon after evolved into a Cascoon, disappointingly for me. I really wanted a Beautifly. And we run into this Devon researcher who is looking for a Shroomish, and I'm like, dude, that would have been so great. But uh-oh, a Team Aqua Grunt comes out of nowhere and attacks. Unlike the base game, he sends out a Whalmer who hits like a goddamn truck with his water gun, and literally no other move. Killing Poison almost immediately, which, sorry you had a short life, but I really wanted a Beautifly, so I'm not too sad. But our faithful Zigzagoon Ally comes in and absolutely destroys it after a little bit of healing. Just ignore that, that's not important. It's not hardcore, it doesn't matter. We make it out of the woods to Route 104, where we catch Marill, who we later decide to call Azuzu Marill. With this, we've made it to Rustboro City, where a very special well sits. This is the Wishing Well. By tossing in a wishing star, it will produce a random Pokémon. Not just any Pokémon, it has to be its base form, so no fully grown Pokémon like Charizard or Sceptile. But this is a Nuzlocke, so I have to earn this right. The first time, I can use it for free, but any future times going forward, I must earn a gym badge before using it again. So, with hope in my heart, I toss in the wishing star and get a Tangela. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed. But you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. I'll have them in the team at least for some Pokemon to switch into. I don't feel completely ready to take on Roxanne just yet, so I decide to go to Route 116 where I encounter Erica the Skitty. Named after gaming's greatest waitress. You go, girl. But I couldn't hold off the inevitable forever. After my leveling was done, I took on Roxanne. And unlike the base game, her team's actually very interesting, being based on fossil Pokemon. Between the water-type Chris and the steel-type Kaine, we had little to no issue taking care of this gym. Kaine used Covet to steal his item, and a few Metal Claws later, it was over. Once we got out of the gym victorious, we saw a certain familiar individual running out of the Devon building in a fit of panic, as the Team Aqua member from earlier stole some vital goods from the building. The coward was hiding in Rustturf Tunnel, holding an old sea captain's Wingull hostage. We battle him once again, but his Whalmer is much stronger, and I am, quite frankly, nervous, because in previous runs, this thing has decimated me. I send out Tangela, whom I hugely underestimated earlier, to tank the hits, and maybe get in a super effective Vine Whip to do maybe a bit of damage. I was so wrong about this Pokemon. I sent out Tangela. Not only did he tank the hit like a complete champion, his Vine Whip took out half of the Whalmer's health, with no issue. I am so sorry, Tangela. You deserved so much respect, more than I was giving you earlier. And what's more, you deserve a nickname. I'm gonna call you Oxon, after another streamer who you should definitely watch. And you know what? I reckon you're gonna be a key member of the team. That's right, baby. We defeat the Team Aqua member with our Curly Boy, give back the Devon parts, and we are rewarded with a Pokénav. As an extra reward for saving the old sailor's Wingull, he offers to take us to Dewford Town, the place of the dreaded gym where Brawly's Heracross lives. When we land there, we capture a Growlithe we decide to name Leo. And in Granite Cave, we encounter a Misdreavus we call Battlein. And yet, even after defeating all the gym trainers and leveling them up as much as I can on this island, I am terrified of Brawly. But it occurred to me, I don't have to challenge him right away. Technically, the old sea captain can take me to Slateport City right away. So I do that, train a bit more on the beach, and capture a Pikachu I call Flea. We have another run-in with Team Aqua after delivering some parts to Captain Stern. We encounter their boss Archie, who talks about how the sea needs to expand for the sake of Pokemon's lives or whatever. And with that, we've done just about everything we can before we challenge the next gym. The game's built-in level cap is going to stop me from continuing any grinding, so this is it. Next time I stream, folks, we're taking on Brawly. I hope the team is ready.